Hi, it's Carl here from PresentationExpressions.com. Thank you for joining us here once again. This week I've got something that is going to be really interesting for all of you that like introductions. A lot of people are really interested in how to introduce a presentation, how to start a presentation. So today I'm going to talk about how to start a presentation with an attention-grabbing question or statement. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so why, first of all, should we want to have an attention-grabbing statement or question to start a presentation? What is the purpose of it? Well, the purpose of it is to, of course, get people's attention, but also to hold on to it for the entire time that you are presenting, which is really important. So how are we going to do that, and who is this really for? Okay, so this is for any type of presentation that you have to give, because you always want to maintain the audience's attention during your entire presentation. You don't want them, dozing off in the middle of your presentation. You want them to be focused on you the entire time, and you want them interested in what you have to say. So how do we do this exactly? Okay, well, you're going to start doing something that a lot of mystery writers and a lot of suspense writers already do, which is they put a question in the mind of the reader, and the reader has to keep turning the page to find out what's going on. So how do you do that in a presentation? Well, you're going to start with a very, very simple question, and I'm going to show you that question right now. So the question you're going to use is something like this. How can I... Okay, so how can I something? So the something here would be, how can I solve this problem? How can I send a man to the moon? All right, so you can do that. Or you could also ask a question such as this. You can say, what would I have to... Okay, so what would I have to do to something? You can start by saying something like, I've always wondered, how can I something? Or I've always been thinking about something, how can I whatever? All right, so that's how you would start your presentation. You would tell them or ask those two questions, one of those two questions, and so the audience is now thinking, well, how can this person do this? You can also replace I with a we. You can replace it with you, right? How could you do something? How can we do something? Right? So now you've put into their mind this idea of there's something to be accomplished. The other way you can do it is with a statement, okay? So now the statement is something like this. You actually can propose something. You can say something like this. This pen is really terrible. Hang on a second. So I propose that, okay? Very, very simple. Again, you can just start your presentation and say, okay, listen, I propose that we send a man to the moon and return him safely back, okay? Like JFK said, years ago when he said, over the next 10 years, I propose that we send a man to the moon and return him safely back. So a statement. So then people think, well, how can we do that? So that's where they're hooked. That's where they, you have their attention now, so they're wondering what's going to happen. So you can do this, right? I propose that, okay? Those are the three different things you can say, okay? So questions or some kind of a statement like this. So just saying what you're going to do. Now, what do you do after this, though? That's the problem, right? So what you do after this is you start telling the audience exactly how, right, you discovered this, how you would go about doing this, okay? So you would talk about the different ways that you would try to solve this problem, try to overcome this challenge, try to achieve some kind of goal. So you can also say here, right? I can't uncap these pens for a long time, but I want to write here, I have a goal too, okay? Or my goal is to. That's what I want to write here. My goal is to do something. So then you can talk about the different ways that you tried to achieve one of these things here. And of course, talk about the results that you got. So hopefully you'll talk about a few things that you tried that failed, that didn't work at all. And then finally at the end, you're going to give them the one that worked, okay? Or another option is to give them two choices. You can say, okay, I tried this one, so what do you think is the result? You tell them the result, right? You say, okay, I tried this one, and then you try another one which has a similar result, okay? Or maybe it's a different result, whatever you want. But two choices you can give them. Okay, and then what you can do at the end of your presentation, which I'll talk about next time, is what to say after that. But today, all I want you to remember is when you start your presentation, you have a couple of choices to get their attention and to hold on to it during the presentation. And what you're going to do is you're going to try and use something that suspense writers, mystery writers, all these people, they use this kind of technique to get people's attention. So you're going to ask a question, which will form a question in their mind, okay, as to what's going to happen next. So you're going to say something like, how can I teach people about presentations without actually being in front of them, okay? Or, what would I do to send a man to the moon and return him safely back? Or a woman, okay? And I propose that, or my goal is to. Again, what you want to do, and then after that, you're going to tell them different ways that you tried to achieve these goals. Then you're going to tell them the one that worked, okay? Or you give them two options, and then you can end the presentation in a little different way, which I'm going to show you next time. So I hope you got that. Please let me know if you have any questions about this particular technique, and try it out. Let me know how it works for you, okay? Anyway, thank you very much. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye-bye.